All right. So after Paul interviewing everyone in the band and guys like me who weren't in it, I thought it was only fair that we got to ask you some questions,
Right on.
right? Because everybody cares about your opinion, whether you think it's true or not, and you just got to deal with it. All right, let's just hop right into it. So you you wrote all the questions pretty much,
Mhm.
but I didn't tell you any of the ones I was going to ask you. So I'm going to mix things up. I'm going to tie on a little bit to each of them too. But the first one I wanted to ask you because I feel like this is a question everybody thinks about at some point too is what made you want to become a musician?
Well, I grew up um, in a very musical family. My mom's side of the family, um, my uncle, he was a ghostwriter for a lot of like big up and coming um, like musicians that came out of like Mexico and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And he literally had a studio at every single one of his houses. So
Oh, shit.
it was always like whenever I went over there, which was my favorite house to go over,
Mm.
like I could just sit there and just like play with stuff. And my cousins were like savants. Anything they touched, they could play. Um, and like I was
That's
like, wow, I want to be like that. Yeah. Um, but um, it wasn't until oh man, now I can't remember the year it came out. But I think I was in like fourth or fifth grade and I was listening to K Rock back then.
Mm.
Um, and a song called Greedy Fly by Bush started playing. And
Yeah.
just the opening line like caught me like for like the rest of my life. It's like, do you feel the way you hate? Do you hate the way you feel? And that's just like, you know, I know a lot of people like growing up don't go through like their angry, angsty phase until they're like in middle school and stuff like that. But like that like hit me and I was like, yeah, yeah, I do. Um,
That's
and like
crazy that it was like so early too.
and I grew very fond of like alternative rock. It's because of Gavin Rossdale and Bush that I even picked up a guitar. Um, and like I couldn't take any of my cousins' guitars home because they were ultimately my uncle's. But my cousin and I built my first guitar, and like it surprisingly worked. So I use that to like try to play, but I'm still like garbage ass fucking guitarist.
You and me both. We just kind of make it work.
Yeah.
Dude, that's actually a good tie-in because you mentioned Bush. Tie on to that question, we kind of figured out, or you had some backstory to what made you want to become a musician. Leading up to that, what are some of your biggest influences musically?
Um, a lot of people would think it's mainly punk and stuff like that, but my first musical love is Motown. And old like soul, like Otis Redding. I would love to be able to play at the Whiskey just to say that I was on the same stage he was on. Sam Cooke is another one that I just absolutely adore. Um, Smokey Robinson, although I had a chance to meet him years ago, leaving a movie, he was on the escalator in front of me, and I was with a group of friends. And I'm sorry, I'm kind of off topic here, but
Good.
I would think about this. And he was like talking to somebody while my back was to him, listening to the conversation my friends were having. And I immediately stopped and slowly turned, and my brain stopped working. And
Mm.
like, I knew who he was, but I couldn't say Smokey Robinson. All I kept saying was "Tears of a Clown, Tears of a Clown," and like he kind of slowly looked at me and like smiled, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And then him and his wife like walked off the escalator, and then like everyone was like, "Are you all right, man?" And I was like, "That was fucking Smokey Robinson." They're like, "Why didn't you say anything?" And I was like, "I couldn't." Uh,
Mm.
but in the realm of like punk, I have to say, like Bad Religion, which are my favorite band. Useless ID. Um, Yo, Tom, the lead singer of Useless ID, has like been there for the band and has like kind of um taken me under his wing. He's like,
Like a mentor.
yeah, and like I
Yeah.
really appreciate that. He's such a cool guy, and um yeah, I was raised on like Dean Martin, fucking Sinatra. I don't know.
I love all these bands. I love that you're mentioning. I mean, I think you and I worked together for what, like 2 months before we actually had an actual conversation.
Yeah,
And the first thing we bonded over, I think I said it was either Bayside or Thrice,
yeah,
dude. And we were playing music together like 2, 3 weeks later.
yeah,
And I always think I look back on it and I'm like, it's so crazy, like, because like my influences, like I used to joke around all the time. If it wasn't for Enema of the State, I think I would have, you know, not been the same person I am
yeah.
because it was fourth, fifth grade for me, and I was buying Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera CDs at the time. So I love hearing what people's like inspirations as a musician are too, what kind of brought you up. And I
Yeah,
always think it's just so interesting and what kind of it makes of you as a person.
yeah, I agree.
Nice, dude. All right, let's move on to that second question that I thought. All right, do you have any weaknesses that you're actively trying to improve upon?
Oh man. Um,
Wrote it.
yes. Um, musically, I am honest when I say I am not a great guitarist. I know what to play that sounds appeasing to my ear,
Mhm.
and I am able to like write music based off of that. But if you were to ask me what key it's in, I have no fucking idea. And Jonathan, our producer and friend, can attest to that because we'll be in the studio and he's like, okay, what key is this in? And I'm like, I don't ask Johnny. You're asking the wrong guy.
He did that the first time I went in to record like a year or two. He's like, "This is key of C, right?" And I was like, "Fuck, I think it starts on D flat or something." I was like, "I don't remember," and I fucking have a music degree, so oops. No, I agree to that. I feel like I was always the same way guitar wise. Like, so I think you were the same way. We agree, like, touched on this. Like, we both kind of learned by ear,
Yeah,
and it's a crazy thing to try to throw
yeah,
together theory with it.
yeah.
Um, do you want to add on to any aspects in like life too that have made you a performer? Like something weakness wise that you're actively trying to improve on?
Um,
You can say no to.
no, with like my personal life, I'm the type of individual that kind of like shuts down whenever I get faced with something that poses a problem. Most of the time, I can like think pretty quickly, and I'm able to look at two or three different scenarios in which I answer this. It can go one of three ways. But there are those times where I'm just completely caught off guard. And when that happens, I just kind of like shut down. Um, yeah, I I guess that's the biggest thing that I'm trying to work on. Hasn't been easy. A lot of people don't know, and I guess this is me spilling the tea, in a sense. I actually have a 2 year old, and um, I was raised with very strict religious parents, and there are certain things that I wasn't allowed to do, and it kind of got ingrained into my head. And even now, I see myself like I hate being dirty with a dear passion. And whenever my son like gets dirty, like I cringe, and I try not to make it so noticeable. But he's a 2 year old. He loves making messes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
That's cool though. I mean, it's cool that you see where there's room for growth and everything. I feel like that's a hard thing for a lot of people
Yeah.
in every different aspect of life. So, um, let's just jump straight into the third one. What's your process for dealing with performance anxiety? We're not talking about sexually right now.
I actually have very bad performance anxiety, and um, as I am setting up my gear, I am constantly whispering to myself, "This isn't going to kill you. This isn't going to kill you," because there have been a few moments where we go to play shows, and I think I'm ready to go mentally,
Mhm.
and I just get hit with this like dread that if I don't do as well as I know I could do, it's the end. And I've just been like trying to sort out how to better that. I do have my stuff that I do prior to shows. Not going to go into all of it, but one of the things that I do that actually helps calm me down is I listen as loud as I can possibly listen to in my ears without causing any damage. Slipknot's People Equal Shit. Like something about that song just like calms me,
Yeah.
and I'm able to like start thinking clearly, and that's when like I'm able to come back in with I don't know if you would call it a mantra or whatever,
Mhm.
but that's when I start telling myself again at a much slower pace where I'm not like, this isn't gonna kill you, this isn't gonna kill you. I'm able to like, this isn't gonna kill you. You're gonna be fine. Um, so that's basically what I do. Just kind of talk to myself and try to reassure myself that it's not gonna kill me.
I like it.
Yeah.
Um,
I do want people to know that after our shows, I've kind of been dubbed like an asshole because I don't talk to people.
you
And
kind of phase out for a little bit.
I do. And that's
You like take everything in.
yeah, mainly because of my anxiety. I am not as open as Johnny and TJ are. So
Mhm.
it's like it's hard for me to like break out of that and not be as reserved as I normally am. It's not that I don't like talking to people, but most of the time I'm just like in my head, like, oh, this is what I messed up in that song and in this song. So I'm just constantly replaying the performance in my head. So I just want people to know that I'm not a fucking asshole. Like I'm in my own head. Um, and if not, I'm thinking about my son. And I normally have to go home shortly after we finish playing.
That's fair. It's fun hearing like, especially now that we have two interviews that have gone out, like because we've talked about the process of like getting ready for shows too, and what everyone does. You mentioned on yours a little bit. Just it feels like everyone in the band always has something completely different too. Like talking about anxiety. Like one weird thing I get about my anxious things is, you remember Super Mario Brothers for Super NES? Like First World 1-1 on Yoshi's Island, like that song will run through my head. And I know when I start getting anxious and like tensing up, it starts going faster and faster
Oh,
and faster. Yeah. And I actually have to start tapping out time for it to slow down
oh
and
shit.
like get my breathe. Yeah. Like my anxiety hit me bad. And that used to happen in shows once in a while. Like I'd do the same thing. Like I'd stand there, like holding my guitar, like stop tuning for a second, start tapping.
Yeah. I mean,
So
crazy.
yeah, and like anxiety fucks with us in all sorts of different ways. Uh, Um, what else was I gonna? Okay, let's talk about the song a little bit. So, like a hero, we are releasing it Friday, April 19th.
Hmm.
One question that I thought was very important to ask you specifically was what was your creative process when it came to this particular song, and how is it different from many of the other songs that This Is a Train Wreck has put out?
Um, this song was intended to be for my first band. that I had out in the valley called Axis K. Um, Shout out to Ben, Kirsten, Johnny, Jonathan, and Randall. Um, we we weren't very good at all, but it was some of the most fun I've ever had. Um, and I actually came up with a song when my friend Jim was still around. And Jim is the reason why This Is a Train Wreck came about, but that's a whole nother story. Um, but I started like writing out the music, and he was like, "Hey man, like this is pretty good. Like this is a lot better than some of the other stuff that you've written for the band." And I had lyrics. Like people don't know that for a brief moment I was like homeless and like living in a park. And like some stuff happened, and I ended up penning down what is now our song, "You're No Savior." But I had those lyrics and the melody on "Like a Hero," which you actually reminded me that it was originally named "Like a Hero," which
Yeah.
I did not remember. Um, but I just kind of like took it as slowly as I could. I think the first thing I came up with is because, again, I'm not a great guitarist. I can hear stuff in my head, but it's hard for me to actually put it to my fingers. And I came up with the opening octave riff, and I was like, "Oh man, that's pretty fun." And then it was when I was trying to get a little like edgier, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna play something in drop D." And
Yeah, we tried that once.
yeah, and I think this was around the time where I like started getting into thrice, and I was like, "Man, these guys are heavy. I want to do something like that." And um, I remember like when it came to the breakdown that I had, I was like, "Holy shit, this is like vastly different from anything else that I've done in the past." Because some of the other little breakdowns were just kind of like groovy little da 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 stuff like that. But this
Yeah.
one went hard. Um, and I sat on it for an extremely long time, and I intended to release it with everybody in Axis K,
Mhm.
but nothing against them. I just kind of backpedaled, and I was like, "Yeah, I don't think this is ready just yet." And then when This Is a Train Wreck came about, I was like, "Oh, I want to do this, but I'm not really married to what I have lyrically or vocally." And that's when I was like, "What can you do, Sterling?" And holy shit, did you give us back something that's magical?
Yeah, I looked at all my demons. Oh, that's cool to hear. Yeah, I mean, when you gave it to me, you had the guitar, which was, I think it's almost identical. I think a few chords were changed around. There was like a synthetic bass to it and a synthetic drum kit.
Yeah.
Like, can you hear anything from this? And just rolled with it. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh man. Do. How do you feel it was different from other songs though too? Oh, I guess we went over this a little bit. Compared to like what we do with it like at the end of the shows now compared to like how do you feel about the outro that made it so I mean
Um,
this is a train wreck shows usually close with it. So
yeah. Um, I like having it last for two reasons. One, it's in drop D, and most of our songs are in standard tuning. So it's like the one song we're like, all right, let's change it up here. Um, and we have been trying to like push people to like actually move with us because granted I wrote the first initial breakdown for it, but having TJ, Johnny, and Trevor, they just kind of helped polish it, and it is what it is now. um, but prior to us playing the song, I just kind of let people know that, you know, this one goes out to people that have depression or anxiety. We all know how hard it is to like just get up, just to do like the most menial task. And often those of us who suffer um, feel like we're a burden to other people. And it's just something that we kind of keep to ourselves. And I let people know, like, don't do that. Like, I genuinely like care, and I will listen and talk to people, and I can easily say there's probably about 25 to 30 people that I still speak to constantly because of the fact that they heard me say this at the shows, and they're like, all right, a lot of people say this, so let's see what's up. And I am a man of my word, and I will reply to everyone that comes, even if they just want to talk, and it's nothing like serious. I'm trying to be the shoulder that they can lean on, the ear that they can talk to. Um,
While being
just-
that asshole after the show isn't so
yeah,
much.
exactly. But yeah, that's how it differs from most of the other songs that I have written. Johnny has a new song where it's along the same lines, but he's looking more at one particular topic instead of having it kind of a broad spectrum of things. Um, but yeah,
Nice. Yeah, I think I've only got the opportunity. What we played it twice, but when I went to Houston when we went to Punk Fest, what 2 years ago now?
yeah,
Right. Like that one hit me hard. You opening the song like that too,
yeah,
like hit me hard enough that I was like, oh fuck, Johnny, what's the first words again? I can't remember because it was just rolling in my head. Like it's um writing the lyrics like that, like not thinking about it, and afterwards trying to sing it. I was like, oh shit, yeah, like this could be big for a lot of people just hearing this.
yeah.
So, um, last question I thought was a great one, which I don't know. You touched on it a little bit. How do you actually feel about this song? You think it sucks, huh?
Other than positive reinforcement, I think it is one of the best songs that we have. And I am fortunate enough that you're not an asshole and you're like, I'm gonna fucking keep this to myself. Fuck you guys. Um,
I couldn't. There
that,
was no way.
uh, like the music is like so fun. Um, we try to bring people in specifically with the music and kind of get people like moving and stuff like that. But what you like pen down, the lyrics, like they not only like affected me and Johnny, um, but there's countless people, countless, at least 25 to 30 that heard the message that we were trying to convey, and they are like, yeah, like this was written because people actually care about what it might be, what I'm going through, and what others might be going through. um and it just, I personally want people to know that you're not alone. You're never alone. um
Mhm.
Even if your family's telling you that you're not good enough and that they don't want anything to do with you, um like, we care. I care. I'm a daddy, and if you want, I'll be your daddy too. um Seriously. I'm more than open and willing to talk to people, especially when they come up to us after shows and they say that last song like really resonated with me. And thank you for that, because there aren't too many songs out there that shine like a light on what is, especially for men, it's a stigma. Like nobody gives a shit about, you're sad, like, oh, boohoo.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, and especially with like depression, people are just like,
Mm.
oh, just don't be sad anymore. Like people don't understand how fucking hard it is to like do anything. And like it's not easy to just be like, oh, okay, you're right. I'm not sad anymore. I'm gonna go conquer the world.
I think that's the hardest part about therapy too. Like a lot of people finally when they like get to the point where they're like, "Oh man, maybe I do need this." And then they get in one session, two sessions, maybe five, and they're like, "Shit, this ain't working." Like they don't realize the process to it sometimes, and then sometimes it just clicks.
Yeah.
Like everybody's different with it. And I feel like when I was pen to paper at the time writing this out, I was like, no one gives a shit about this. This is like me. I'm alone in this.
Yeah.
Like this shit reaches out. Like everybody has these raw emotions, these feelings of just what the fuck can I do right now? I'm drowning in my own sorrows and I don't know what to do about it. But I guess I can get up.
Yeah.
And they don't know. And it's those small victories that just fucking keep you going every day.
Yeah.
So, ooh, boy, let's end with something funny. What's one of the fondest memories you have from like on the road or a tour?
Oh man. I have two of them. The first one is when we went to Austin, Texas, and played at Texas Mist. It was like a whole festival type thing that our friend, what was it called? Why am I forgetting his name? I want to say it was Cyrus, put together. And we drove. This was when Seth, the frontman for Kid Carrion, was sitting in on drums for us. Um, we drove out to Austin, actually hired our friend Nat, and the Maniac drove the entire fucking way and didn't let anybody else drive. But we drove out to Texas, and Johnny touched on this as well. Um, when we got to the venue, we like jumped out and we started like drinking beers in the parking lot, and the owner came out and we're like, oh hey, it's the owner. And I walked over to him to like shake his hand, and he's like some big massive Samoan dude, and he was like, what are you guys doing? You can't be drinking on my fucking property. And we're like, oh, we thought we could. And this in the entire time this dude is like squeezing the shit out of my hand, and like in
Oh
my head I'm
shit.
like, ow, this hurts, I have to play guitar in a bit, please stop. And he was just like, you guys need to fucking stop, blah blah blah. And we apologized because we're from California. We didn't fucking know any better. We just assumed that we were able to drink. Um,
Mm.
and like that one was pretty funny because everyone was kind of like shook it up, and I was scared for my life. And another one that still lives in my head is when we went to Houston and played that festival, the
Mhm.
Houston Punk Festival, and um, afterwards, like you wanted to get on the ice and run around, but the what's it called, security lady wouldn't let us.
Oh
So we're like,
yeah.
what if you slap him in the face? And then that just fucking opened up a whole can of stupidity for the rest of the night. And
Just a string of videos of us walking up to random people. Just slap the shit out of them. See what happens. Everybody in the band got like rocked a few times
yeah,
that trip.
yeah, but yeah, that was fun stuff.
There's always fun times with This Is a Train Wreck. I don't think there's ever been a dull moment, even when I was in the band. Even times I've come back, I had that little week right before the world shut down where I came back. We did a mini tour
Yeah,
coming back for the Punk Fest. Like, there's no better group of guys that I would ever want to write music with. And I definitely mean that, like, from the heart. I
thank
love
you.
you guys. I appreciate you, everything we do. Shit, damn, dude.
Yeah,
So, this has been an interview with Paul. Guitarist from This Is a Train Wreck. We have our song Like a Hero coming out Friday, April 19th on all platforms. Give that shit a listen.
Too.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe in the bottom. And we don't do that, do we?
No, I guess these should probably go on YouTube.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Click on the banners if you want to see more of our shit and content. Is that how they do it?
Yeah,
Oh.
right here.
Yeah, right here. Ah, fuck, dude. I hate interviewing people. How'd you do this with five of us? Four of us?
The worst one was yesterday, and I felt terrible. I actually
Yeah.
had a medical procedure done on Monday, and since then, I've been like pretty high on stuff. And yesterday was the worst of it because I don't know. And I took like two
The
edibles,
pain starts kicking in again, and
and I interviewed Trevor for the second time because the first time I interviewed Trevor, none of the audio picked up, so it's just us like, and I was like, we need to redo this. And like I watched um the interview back and I'm like, God damn it.
can't use any of this.
Yeah. Well, I have to because I don't have time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not gonna be nearly as fun as the first time, but still kind of informative.
Hmm. That's what we're looking for in the end, right?
All right then.
Ugh. Dude, good shit. I appreciate the fuck out of you. I
Likewise.
am glad that you let me be the one to interview. I'm glad I fucking brought it up
Yeah.
because otherwise you probably would have just done this shit without one with you.
Yeah.
A little doped up or not, dude. Good shit.
Yeah.
All right, man. Go get your kid. Take it easy. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right.
All right. Love you, buddy.